So firstly, thank you for coming and for managing to turn your back on a lovely sunny afternoon and come and sit indoors and listen to us. So I'm Jake Sargeant, Group Content Director at Apadmi, and we've put together hopefully an interesting set of speakers to talk a little bit about this topic of maximising mobile in retail. So as I said, I'm Jake Sargeant from Apadmi. We're also running this event with our friends from Batch, who are a customer engagement platform. It's James and Charlie's here somewhere as well. There he is, Batch, wearing a t-shirt, you can't miss him. You'll hear a little bit more from them later because they're going to be talking with Jessica from Decathlon. So yeah, in terms of the people that we've got together, Monica from McCann, and I'll talk a little bit more about what each of these people are going to talk about in a second. We've got Muck from Very, Adrian from John Lewis, and Jessica, as I've mentioned, from Decathlon. So a really nice range of brands from within the retail world, experiencing a variety of challenges, but also some similar too. So why are we doing this? Well, mobile, I think, as we know, is changing everything. So these kind of small devices that have taken over all of our lives are very much having an impact on all industries, and that's no different in the world of retail. And at Apadmi, we work with a variety of different businesses in different sectors, but quite a lot of which are in retail. And we help those clients to try to unlock value within the world of mobile through creating digital products that help them to do that. But that's not always easy. And a big part of why that's not easy is because there's a proliferation of these things called apps. There's very much this feeling of kind of app overload. So I think current thinking suggests that about 90% of time spent on mobile devices is in app. So that's great for us as an app business. Brilliant. Well, hey, the challenge is that an average smartphone user will probably have about 80 of these apps on their device, of which they only use about 8 regularly. So quick maths, 10%, that's quite a lot of challenge to go, well, actually, can you use my app, please, because it's much better than everybody else's. So that creates some challenges, and it's kind of challenging for everybody. So this is a billboard that I actually spotted in Manchester on my way to the office this morning. Apologies for the slightly grainy quality there, because it's obviously a screen taking a picture of a screen. But there it says 3, because you're rubbish at making frothy milk at home, have a £1 off a coffee at Cafe Nero. So even the mobile networks are kind of struggling with this idea of how do we get people to engage. It's not enough that you might have your mobile provider as 3 for you to check how many minutes of data you might have left. They need to also give you some cheap coffee, or I think they're also offering some money off at some local partners in terms of retailers. So everybody's struggling with this idea about what purpose is the app serving. And what does that kind of mean for everybody? Well, this is a quote from our lovely friends at Google, who are clearly doing all kinds of thinking around the way that we're all acting and living online. So omni-channel shopping will continue to evolve as it shifts from a discrete task in which people look for a specific item on a particular channel in a defined period to an ambient experience. So everybody's talking about omni-channel. And I'll kind of skirt over that bit because we might talk a little bit about that later. But I'm really interested by this word ambient. It's a bit like this shopping is going to become this constant background thing that we just do all the time, whether we're on TikTok or whether we're on Ensor or whether we're online on websites or in-app even. So it's becoming everywhere. And that's really hard to try to grapple with, because how do you be everywhere all the time? So as a result, what we've decided is to put together this group of people that are going to kind of cover some interesting different areas that will help us to tackle that a little bit. So first up, we've got Monica talking about audiences. So to give a bit of a perspective on actually what does mobile consumer behaviour look like right now, and where do brands need to be? And that then moves quite nicely into this idea of actually, well, digital is clearly where everybody needs to be, so why not talk to a digital brand? So Mark's going to talk about Very and how does a brand that only exists online look like on mobile. Then there's a bit about, okay, well, app success. How do you innovate to make these things brilliant? So Adrian's going to talk a little bit about online, in-store, and everything in between, and the challenges faced with John Lewis. And then there's taking it slightly wider to go, well, how do you take a product that might have been created for multiple markets, Decathlon, a global brand, to making it actually work in a local market at the same time? As we go through, there's probably about 10 minutes or so for each speaker. I'm sure you'll be bursting with questions and wanting to get involved and ask everybody lots of more information about what they're talking about. Hold on to those thoughts. And then at the end, once we've got through all four, we'll do a bit of a Q&A from the end and take questions from the floor. And I'll be back to kind of help with that bit. But to start with, I'm going to hand over to Monica.
Very much.
There's your clicker.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm Monica. I actually head up social media at McCann. I'm based out of Manchester. I've been in Manchester for quite a long time. Worked with Marcus at McCann, which is why I'm here today. So thank you for coming out. I'm going to talk a little bit about the kind of wider landscape, kind of give that broad context. So I know I need to go quick. So hello, nice to be here.
Do you want a microphone?
Can
everybody hear Monica? Does she need a microphone? Or
yeah, she does.
Okay.
Oh no, this is going to be terrible. Okay. Thank you for having me. So, do you know, hang on, I've given away the answer. Do you know what your average screen time is per day? Does anyone look at your screen time reports? Yeah. What do you think it is? Shout out answers. 3 to 4. 4. Or do you just ignore them like I do? Because I don't believe I am online for more than 4 hours a day. But actually, I am, and here is my screen time report from this week. And this is only one phone. I have 2 phones, so I'm not even going to show you the other phone. Look at where I spend my time. I'm clearly binging on something in Disney, then it goes Instagram. I mean, I don't even think I look at TikTok, and that's 4 hours of time. Like, crazy, right? Super interesting, though. So the next time you're like, that number clearly can't be right, look at your own screen time report. Okay, but where is time going? What is actually going on? What is going on is we've been thinking a lot about this little blue thing in the middle. So these are US figures. Currently, the average daily time spent on social media every day is 2 hours and 16. But that pales into insignificance when you look at the 7 hours of time that we spend every day looking at screens. And by screens, that is mostly mobile. So we've been worrying about this and going, oh, it's terrible. We shouldn't spend so much time on my social media. The truth is we're spending a lot of time looking at those little boxes in our pockets. So where is that time going? You know, again, we've been worrying about this inner circle, right? So TikTok's taking over, we're spending loads of time in social media. Actually, that time is going across so many different things. You know, Candy Crush. This is the one that everyone's like, oh yeah, that's me. I'm the Candy Crusher in the you know, reading news, binging on streaming services. All of these things we are doing on our phones. And most of these are apps. I've grayed out the ones that I think aren't really apps. The rest of these are all apps. Google Maps, on average, people spend like 25 minutes a day on Google Maps. That is all of us that live in a city, but you used it to get here today, right? So think about what this kind of means and what that starts to create in terms of all of the touch points that brands need to reach with people on their phones with their chosen 8 apps, right? This thing starts to expand out in quite an interesting way. Most people, and this is changing, you know, this is not kind of it's changing in a way that I think we all know is coming, but the numbers are backing that up. So most people aged over 25 are starting their journey still at the Google search bar. That's kind of really common. But as soon as you go younger, so Gen Z, outside of China, let's take China out because it kind of skews the numbers, use Instagram as often as they use Google. So yes, we're talking about things like TikTok taking over the world, but the truth is actually most people still, and most of Gen Z are in Instagram and are using it in ways that we probably didn't think about or imagine. So Yes, I'm binge watching something on Disney, but otherwise it would have been Instagram, and it probably is for most people because actually it's got a really wide span, but especially for Gen Z. And they're using it for chat, they're using it for feed, they're sharing stuff on stories, and now they're making videos. Like, think about the ecosystem that app on its own provides for kids. And around 2 in 5 younger consumers, so go back to Gen Z, make regular impulse purchases. This is higher as you skew. So as you get down into Gen Z, this gets to about 2.5, 2.8. I didn't put the number up because I couldn't get a nice sentence out of it. But actually, as you get younger, impulse purchasing gets higher. And when you look at where they're spending their time, they're basically just buying it on the fly, right? So TikTok made me buy it. I'm in Instagram, I see something, I just bought it. They're not doing the diligence that an older consumer would do if they were buying online. All of these numbers, by the way, come from a really good report from Global Web Index, so they're all out there. But what does that mean for retail? It means that, absolutely, we're spending a lot of time in shopping apps. But it also means that social commerce is becoming really, really big. So TikTok Shop, currently in a couple of countries, is going to start getting bigger and bigger. And guess what? They're asking brands and advertisers to put their products in their shop and for them not to leave the platform, because guess what? They want to say, hey, look at all this time that people are spending in our app. In store, so I've got a little shot of the Sainsbury's Scan and Go there. A lot of retailers have that. So that connection between solely digital or solely store is blurry, right? So actually we've got multiple apps. I think I've got 3 Sainsbury's apps actually that allow me to do different things in different ways with them. So the in-store experience, still really, really important, and how that works. Live streaming, Twitch was on an earlier one, on the increase, been around for a while. Amazon Live is coming. We're doing more and more in that live streaming commerce space. And then lastly, we all thought QR codes were dead. Well, they're back in a big way, right? So mobile payments, again, is a thing. If you've been to somewhere like Wagamama's recently, like the convenience of being able to just like pay and go is immense. So we might be here, but we've also, as retailers and brands, got to think about all these other places that we have to worry about and think about what that's going to look like. I've got just 2 case studies. Both are McCann clients that won't touch on what you're about to look at, but maybe give you a different sense of what does mobile mean when we're thinking about different experiences. First one is MasterCard. This is out of Romania. It's a pandemic idea, so I think this won at Cannes Lion last year, so it would have been sort of 6 months before that. Turned out that all of the small retailers and people in Romania basically lost their income because everybody stayed inside. So they couldn't gather in markets anymore. This was an idea from MasterCard on how to essentially use Waze, another navigation app, into an online marketplace. I'm just going to play it because it will do a better job than I will.
Vând telemeaua de oaie și caș de la oile mele, făcute de mine, eu le...
I'm going to stop it because you are not going to be able to read subtitles at the bottom. But essentially essentially MasterCard partnered with Waze, and then they also enabled all of those farmers to be able to take contactless payments on the roadside. So the idea was they basically turn the app into the marketplace. This is a social commerce idea. We, out of Manchester, we handle the Aldi social channel. So if you enjoy them on Twitter, that's where it's all done, which is super fun. The team have a lot of fun. This idea came, oh gosh, sorry, loud. This idea came about because of a supply chain problem that Aldi had. So a bit like retailers who were struggling to get anything into the country, when they eventually got it into the country, it was sat in loads of warehouses in Colby or somewhere, and they needed to shift a load of stock. So we came up with this idea of using that really fun tone of voice and turning it into kind of spoofing QVC. We found a load of up-and-coming comedians, and we basically then launched every Thursday morning at 8 o'clock a 15-minute video where they basically showed you products and you could buy them. So it was a live shopping experience. Again, we started it on Facebook until Facebook about 3 weeks in went, we're not doing this anymore. So we moved it to Instagram. And they sold products, but more importantly, this was like a 15-minute ad. We had like view-through rates of 80% on a 15-minute video ad, which literally was going, here's a product. They were super fun. They were really entertaining, and like we were in a platform where people wanted to be entertained, as they were kind of getting ready for the morning. So I'm going to show you a little bit of it because it's actually super fun.
Hi guys, Tom here. If you frequent Aldi in Tooting, you probably recognise me actually. I'm a pretty helpful presence over there, and I tend to know pretty much every single Aldi product. And the powers that be caught wind of this. They're like, well, will you be the face of our company? I said, yeah, okay. And then they said, will you review some products for us? I was like, yeah, I will. Only if there's giveaways though. And they said there were. So let's get started. Oh. All of these products are available now. You can get them online if you click the link. This is one of my favourites actually. Nice soft cuddly toy, $19.99. $19.99. It was actually supposed to be an elephant that came down the conveyor, and I was going to say, let's talk about the elephant in the room. But unfortunately, they've given me a different product. So anyway, giraffe's pretty cool as well. Wind your neck in. $19.99. As I say, wonderful little product. You can play with it, you can teach your children about the anatomy of an animal, sort of, minus the fluff, or you could just use it to sleep with to help your back. Wonderful. If that just moves across, that would be great, I'll do it. Another absolutely brilliant product here. Again, available right now. This is the Barbie Dream Box. It's online only, and it's $19.99, which is a bargain. My sister had one of the early incantations of these actually. I sort of took it off her and scraped off the Barbie stuff and used it for my Action Man, but still, she enjoyed it whilst it was hers. We have a mirror, we have all sorts of fun things. There's a nice little key fob.
That goes on for 15 minutes. We did 8 weeks of these, all filmed in-house. They were really fun, and we actually had 3 different comedians that we sourced online to pretend to be the face of Aldi. Interestingly, we helped to shift stock, but actually we were able to then track sales and actually help them to shift some of that money. That is it from me. I'm going to hand over to Muck next. So hopefully I've set you up with a few interesting thought starters. Over to you.
Hello. I don't have any videos to show you today, but I've got some amazing images to go through. Next. Hi all, my name's Muktar. Everyone calls me Muk, so feel free to call me Muk. I'm from Very. Just, can I get a show of hands? How many people know who Very are? Wow, that's killed my intro. Anyway, for those who don't know, we are a digital-only retailer. We offer multiple products across multiple brands, along with flexible ways to pay. So we have an FS product that allows customers to buy products and add it to their credit account, or pay for products on a 9, 6, or 12 months basis without paying any interest if they paid off in time. What I'm going to spend the next 8 to 10 minutes doing is talking about what we're doing to really improve the mobile app experience at Very, and why mobile app. I'll talk about that in a second. Because we offer products across multiple brands and multiple categories, the mental model of our customers is very different depending on what category they're shopping into. So we're really keen to offer an experience that, one, simplifies the experience for them. Our customers are time poor, so anything we do needs to save them a lot of time, but also needs to delight them so that they can keep it up as long as possible. Our app has our most engaged customer base, and we notice everything we want customers to do, they do more of in the app, so we want to drive more of that engagement. But we have to work for that to happen. So we have an ambition to optimize our app to deliver a seamless and delightful shopping experience that prioritizes time saving for our customers who are shopping across multiple categories, as I said. What are we doing to do that, really? Well, there's 4 areas we're focusing on, and I'll delve into a bit more detail in each of these as we go through this. Well, the first one is around personalization. And yes, I know you've heard a lot about personalization, but let me explain what we're doing in this area. Majority of our customers always have a logged-in session on the app, so we know who they are. So why not make the app this? Why not make it feel more relevant to them? Why not make it unique? And anytime we interview customers, what we hear is, you're not giving me anything beyond what I get on the mobile website, so why should I keep the app? And I always use an example around when your mobile phone says storage full, you're looking for the apps to delete. And we want to give you a compelling reason to keep our app on your phone. So that's one of the reasons we're looking at that. Immersive shopping, again, a customer's mental model when shopping across categories is very different. If you're shopping in beauty, you probably care about the efficacy of the products that go into manufacturing it. You probably want to see how it looks like on you before you make a purchase. If you're shopping in fashion, you probably care about size and fit. You probably want to see what a fashion item might look like on you. And same to different categories. And again, I'll go into examples of that shortly. Proactive engagement is the next one. There's no better way to talk to customers on an app than push. So how do we really make sure we can send customers timely notifications that are relevant to them without being annoying? Because I know they can be annoying, without them having to feel like they've got to turn off the notification option. And then finally, rewards and offers. Customers who use app tend to be more loyal. But actually, we want to show them that we appreciate their loyalty. And it doesn't always mean we're giving them money for free, but actually it's showing them that we appreciate them being app customers, and actually what are we doing in this space to show our appreciation. So if we touch on the first one, on the personalization element, there's 3 parts we want to explore. The first one is about a personal dashboard. Now, our app has about 85% of traffic that come through the home screen. And yeah, 85% of customers tap on the app and land on the home screen. So why not make it relevant? Your first impression should be very relevant. The example you see here is something we're exploring around how we show customers their credit information as soon as you enter the app. That gives you that psychological safety to basically go, okay, this is how much you can afford to spend today. Focus on shopping and don't worry about anything else. But also, as soon as you land on the home screen, how do we understand the behavior you've had in the app experience previously and really customize it and make it feel relevant for you to go to where you want to go to next? Meaningful recommendations is the next thing. We've just partnered with a company called Constructor, and Constructor offers an AI-powered product discovery platform. And what we're looking to explore here is how do we feed into the AI, a customer's previous browsing behavior, a customer's purchase history, and the categories they've been visiting, to really start to show them relevant recommendations to allow them to make the purchases that mean more to them rather than just feeling like it's noise. And then lastly, around personalization, is remembering customers' preferences. The example you see here is what we're calling continual browsing, and it's allowing customers to jump back in where they left off. If you know I'm browsing to women and dresses, well, why not just signpost it for me? Why let me browse and get to that again? Quickly click on that and land on the product list page again. Again, these are just a selection of ideas of things we're exploring for personalization, but we believe this is something that's going to really change how customers behave on our app. Okay, Immersive shopping, and by the way, please ignore that image. I couldn't find a model, so I had to put myself in there. Immersive shopping, as I talked about, the mental model of a customer is very different depending on what category you're shopping into. If you take fashion, yes, size and fit's great, and you would have seen tools like Fit Analytics that allows you to enter things like your fit preference, the brands you shop in, and they'll recommend a size for you to buy. But what happens if you actually want to see what an item looks like on you before you make that purchase? Well, we're leveraging things like existing technology around VR and AR to really give you that immersive experience that bridges the gap between store and digital to help you really start to get a closer feel for that product before you buy it. Furniture placement, again, a product we sell. Again, customers tell us about these are high-ticket purchases. And at times, I want to see what it looks like in my space. How do I get a feel of if it goes with the rest of the decor in my room before I make that purchase? Can I go through a few colors and see which one I prefer before I make that final purchase? And then beauty try-on. I mean, most beauty products tend to be non-refundable. So being able to give customers a choice to try it on before they make that purchase is great. But it's also great for us because actually, you know what? It doesn't really annoy the customer. This is a really interesting use case. When we did this, we sent the lipstick products to the customer during research. So when they tried the digital version on, they actually saw the physical version and tried it on, and we asked them to match, to tell us how close the colors were, and thankfully they were. There'd be nothing more annoying than trying this on. It arrives and it's a different color, right? So that was a great example of that. And it goes beyond these categories. Toys is another one. You know, being able to engage your kids in that toys shopping experience is fantastic. Imagine being able to bring a toy alive in your living room. You know, Lego does this really well. See how a toy comes to life before, and see how, you know, the capabilities that your kid can have with that before they make that purchase is fantastic. Okay, and then proactive engagement. As I mentioned, you know, push is great when done well. Rarely is it done well, and we all tend to turn it off when it starts to get annoying. You know, there's 3 areas that we really believe we can win in push, and we're exploring these 3 areas. The first one is around trigger-based pushes. You know, what behaviors do you have in an app that determines what notifications you get? Have I bought a t-shirt and expecting a review notification 2 weeks later? Or have I bought a mattress and then actually, if you send me a notification 2 weeks later, I'm going to ignore it because it's been 2 weeks. Give me 6 months and then ask me to review it as an example. Have I been on your product page and then have I exited the app? And then maybe you just want to flag and say, hey, we noticed you noticing us. Would you like to come back in? Because sometimes you genuinely forgot, right? The kids have been really, really unsettled, and you put the phone down, you've gone to attend to them, and you forgot you were shopping for a product. And then service-based pushes. I mean, for me, this covers 3 things. It's returns, it's delivery, and the last one is around payment. For us, I talked about psychological safety earlier. The last thing we want customers to do is continuously come into the app just to understand when their next payment is due. Why not let them know? Proactively engage with them. Let them know how much their payment is going to be, when it's due, and actually that worry is gone. Or if I've returned an item, which usually is a black hole, let me know you know the item's been arranged for the return. Let me know when you received it. Let me know when it's being processed, and let me know when I'm being refunded. Don't let me call you to find out, right? And for us, these are the problems we want to solve for our customers who are time poor. And lastly, it's around trading and CRM. Yes, we're already doing this, but it's how we refine the process to make it a lot more relevant for customers. Don't just send any promotion to customers for the sake of doing so. How do we become very clear around who we're selecting to receive different promotions, and at what time are we doing it? And then the last area I talked about is around reward. As I said, reward isn't just giving out money to customers. Yes, loyalty schemes are great. It helps customers be able to afford and gather a lot of points and buy things they want. But actually, there's other things we can explore. And one of the things we're looking at is early access to products. We sell thousands of brands, and customers choose us because of the brands we stock. Well, be able to access these brands or these products in the app before anyone else does, it's a huge thing for customers, right? It's something that makes me feel privileged to have the app. And that's something that we think customers will obviously be delighted with. Exclusive promotions in the app is another one. You know, how do you give me app-specific prices that I can't get anywhere else? You know, how do we make sure app customers feel like they're getting something? This is value exchange for them. And then discount surprises for those special occasions, whether it's birthdays or other celebrations that we know you care about. How do we delight you with price surprises that make that moment a little bit more special? But we're not stopping here, right? We talked about the focus now for us, but we're also keeping an eye on the future. And technology moves fast. It moves at a fast pace. We all know this. So we're also exploring what's coming. For those who watched Apple's keynote last week, they announced Vision Pro. Vision Pro, and if we know Apple, if they do it, everyone else will follow. This is going to look at it is going to transform how we see tech, right? We don't have physical stores, but imagine a world where you can sit in your living room and shop a virtual store, browse the brands you like, be able to even maybe touch the products yourself, spin them around, look at them with your feet, and then make a purchase. That's an exciting world, right? Now, it has to be right for our customer. Because the technology is available doesn't mean we'll necessarily do it. We have to make sure it's right for our customer. Wearables have been around for a long time, but it's very prominent in the fitness space. How do we make sure we introduce it into the retail space to give customers, again, that confidence that, one, we can keep them proactively engaged, we can give them the confidence and psychological safety around the key notifications that matter to them. And then lastly, it's around smart speakers. Again, for us, for customers who are time poor, for those repeat purchases, can you quickly order them again without even having to go on our website or the app? For customers who we ask for reviews, can you quickly leave it on there? Or for customers who just want to know their position right now from a credit perspective, can they just ask and find out? So these are things that we're still exploring, although we're working on the now and delighting customers, we're also keeping an eye on what's coming. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of the things we're doing to improve our experience for customers. Thank you.
Which one is it?
The big one.
The big one. Yes. Hey guys, thanks for having me. Adrian Evans from John Lewis. Fantastic setup from Muktar. I'm going to take a slightly different approach to the question. So, in a world where all this stuff is really true and exciting, how do you create the stage for mobile to be performant in your organization? So you've internalized all the market trends, you understand your customer, but how do you get your business behind mobile to make it successful? Cue Hovis music. So a little bit about John Lewis. Obviously everybody here, I don't need you guys to put your hands up, you know who we are. The story, an extra bit of context that might be interesting is the way the organization talks about itself is as a 100-year-old experiment. So the idea is how could a co-owned business be business for a better world? So our purpose is how do we make our customers, communities and suppliers happier through doing work with us? So when we're thinking about why do we exist and why should we create profit, it's to create a world that is a better place, and that's at the heart of what we do, regardless of whether you're in the brand team or you're creating digital products or you're stacking shelves in a Waitrose. This is the first John Lewis on Oxford Street, if anyone's interested. That's a picture from 1882. That was bombed out, so it doesn't exist anymore. A few years later, the business bought a grocer called Waite and Rose, and now we're 34 department stores and about 330 grocers. Those businesses run independently, so my purview is the app over in John Lewis. There was a separate team running the Waitrose one, which asked me later about what that feels like. We're famous for a lot of stuff. One thing we are famous for is the profit share model. So everybody that works at John Lewis gets access to the profit at the end of the year. And the papers love these pictures. You can probably guess the era from the fashion in the picture. All these guys are just shopping from the wrong rack. But the bonuses used to be as high as 20%. And that's back in the 90s, early noughties, where retail was booming. You guys don't need me to list out all the reasons why that is no longer true and why it's hard. Competition is harder than ever. One of the interesting things I don't think we've felt hit yet is the mortgage time bomb that everybody's talking about. What's that going to mean in the next 12 to 18 months? Even Timpson's, in their really fantastic and optimistic profit statement the other week, said they were expecting a bad year next year. That's the world that we're in today. We think, we hope, we continue to believe that one of the reasons that people shop with us is quality and relationships. That was true at 20%, that was true when the Hovis music was playing a second ago, and it will be true in the future. And that is where apps come in. So The whole premise, you've heard about it a couple of times today, we think is true too. So we have our most loyal and best customers are shopping in the app. About 50% of total app base is the top 2 most valuable segments for us. About half the people looking at the app have looked at the app already that day, so we are driving engagement, we're driving those behaviors. But critically, it leads to value. So we think an app customer is about 30% more valuable to us than a customer that doesn't have the app. And that is absolutely critical to how we get our business around what we're trying to do. And I think there's 3 bits of the story that I want to tell. I've used emojis because you guys are cool, and I'm not cool enough to use GIFs. So this is where we've gone for. First up is strategy, right? So it's an overused word, and it means a ton of things to people. But really what we're talking about is choices. So what are you guys going to not do so you guys can do something else? And how do you help your business understand that story? The number of times I get asked, or I have asked others, why do we have an app? Is a trope of a question. You need a good answer to that. And the number I gave you before is a good answer, but what's the rest of the answer? Who is your customer? Is it all your customers? Is it a subset of your customers? How does your app create value? Are you a platform? Are you a product? These are all questions that I think we're all grappling with, but to have an answer to that crucially gives you bandwidth to do the things that will create value and create money for you. By not having an answer, you're going to spread yourself too thin. You'll end up with a beige answer doing too much or none of it very well. So for me, it starts with a clear articulation of why do we have an app? How does it make money? The middle one is all about product discipline. I hope I don't need to sell this to this room. I'm sure everybody's already here. But having cross-disciplinary teams with a healthy tension between those professions with clear OKRs is how we motivate and empower people to go and deliver the strategy that we've just defined. And then a bit of cheese, but it takes a village to create an app in my view. So you can't do this on your own. You could have a fantastic strategy, a brilliant product team, super aligned to OKRs and still fail. This is about how do you get your whole organization behind you. Are your tech guys behind you? Are your marketing guys behind you? No one's going to download it if they haven't heard about it, right? If you've got stores, are your store people behind you? How do you bring the whole organization to bear? If you open a John Lewis delivery today and look in the bottom of it, you'll see a QR code to download the app. It shouldn't be as painful as it was to make that true, right? So it's critical for me is how you create a shared language across the organization. In terms of what we've done, from a strategy point of view, we are getting clearer on the answers to some of those questions. A good example of that is we now have an app segmentation in JL where I'm able to point at any customer in the database and say whether they are one of 6 types of value customers for us. And therefore, are they a sort of customer we want to retain in the experience or the sort of customer we want to acquire into the experience? We can be super clear with that. We've given that over to our marketing guys, and marketing performance has gone through the roof as a result, as has early stage retention, as has the customer value metrics. So we're super clear on who we want to be in the app. And if I go back to my definition of strategy before, we're super clear who we don't want to be in the app. We have a fantastic website, we have fantastic stores. They can go and shop there. The app is for very specific types of customers that create value in very specific types of ways. From a product point of view, the OKR taxonomy in John Lewis is a thing of beauty. The guys can take the metric that they're trying to deliver the quarter into the metric we're trying to deliver for the year into the 3-year strategy. But critically, what we've tried to do is not tell them what to go and do with that information. So if your job is to improve users by a couple of visits per year, per user, I'm not going to tell you how to go and do that. Here's a team, here's the skills, here's some healthy tension. How are you going to go away and make that happen? And then the last point, that shared language. So we run a value calculation every quarter at JL that proves out the stuff that I say is important in the target button, and we publish it. So regardless of whether it's good, bad, ugly, fantastic, record-breaking, we tell the business how our apps is performing in terms of creating incremental value. And critically, we tell that story across all channels. Because I want the story about the app growth to be a story about business growth. And that's how you create a group of people that all care about it and don't see it as cannibalizing their organization. My Apple moment of just one more thing. This is Lily. Lily is my 5-year-old daughter. She's the shy one, right? She's the one who won't go and sit on Princess Elsa's knee. She's the one that needs encouragement to go up and order her an ice cream. This is Lily with Supergirl face paint on. That girl is going to go and get that ice cream. She's going to go and get Elsa and be in Frozen 3, right? And there's an interesting transformation there where I'm really interested in how do you create art when you have science? So if the previous slide is all about getting organized, getting specific, getting close to your metrics, close to your data, having highly performant teams, where do you create magic? So where's the bit that you're going to do that everyone's going to go, hey, that thing's cool, we hadn't thought about it that way, we hadn't put those 2 bits of data near each other, we hadn't put that insight against that before. How do we do that? Part of it is about psychological safety. You mentioned it before. I think it's super important about giving people clarity, but also space. I think some of these questions are also interesting. If you guys have checked out Tony Fadell's book, Build, he talks about having a sense of legacy. How do you get people who want to be in your team so that they have something they can talk about 2 years later that they delivered? I think that's really interesting. Do you have a route to testing something? Is failure exciting? You know, it's becoming old-fashioned now almost to talk about failure as success, but there is something about you're going to have to get this wrong 9 times before you're successful. The industry average of experiments that fail is 9 failures to 1 success. You're going to have to be wrong a bit before you're right. Is there a space where your guys can do that? And then another interesting question when you're thinking about this stuff is what's innovation and what's creativity? Innovation's valuable, creativity is interesting. So how do you help your guys with the right commercial skills, with the right set of data to do that work for themselves? So I guess in summary for us, similar to the stories you guys have heard today, relationships are super important at John Lewis. That remains key to our business model. The way you deliver that is through apps. You're going to hear lots of data today that continues to reinforce that story, but your best customers are taking the time to download your experience and keep it on their phone. By definition, there's an exclusivity to that. So that's the digital relationship. That's super important to us, and it's necessary in this changing environment. And I think the way you do it is by creating the right stage for that performance to work and be amplified on. Thank you.
So hi everybody, I'm James, I'm the UK country lead for Batch. I'm glad to be joined here by Jess, the UK mobile products owner.
Hi all, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming and to listen to us. So just a bit about Decathlon for the ones that they don't know Decathlon, hopefully there is no one. Decathlon is the largest sport retailer in the world. We are present in more than 70 countries all over the world, and we are more than 100,000 employees, all of us working for the same purpose, which is making accessible the sport to the many, but not just the sport, also the benefits. So when it comes to Decathlon, this is worth highlighting the fact that we are not just a reseller. So we create our products, we design, we manufacture our products, and this gives us the opportunity to put the user in the center and to answer their needs through our products. That's why we've got more than 60 brands, own brands. You might hear about Between, Domios, Quechua, all the products that we sell, they have been designed by us. This gives us the opportunity to be focused on the quality, but also the affordability of our products when it comes to the customers. And just a bit about Batch.
Cool. And just, first of all, so thank you for Apadmi for inviting us to co-host today. So for those of you that haven't heard of Batch, we're a French-based customer engagement platform. We work with brands to basically consolidate all of their data that they get from the various channels to then engage across push, in-app messages, email, web push notifications. A bit of an interesting story about Batch is, so me and Charlie, who's around at the back, we're the only two in the UK based for Batch. There's a team of 90 based in France. We're working with around 350 customers over 23 markets. The interesting statistic about France for us is that the Batch SDK is actually installed on 95% of people's phones in France. And globally, our SDK is installed in over 10,000 apps. So first of all, we'll look at Decathlon's top challenges. So Jessica, do you want to take us through the last 3 years and what you've been looking at?
Sure. So in the last years, we faced so many challenges, just starting from the acceleration on the digital transformation and the need that we had to, integrate new technologies in order to increase the efficiency of our company, to reduce the cost, and to keep being competitive in the market. There is a greater focus from from the customer point of view on the sustainability and the circular economy, and also the impact that inflation has on their budget. Now the customers have conscious about where they spend their money. So the challenge here for Decathlon is, okay, how can be meaningful for the customers so they keep consuming our products, our services, and most important, our content. Because there is a change, and Monica already mentioned the power of TikTok and how the new generation, consume brands' content, how they connect with the brands that they love the most. So this was a challenge for Decathlon as well, because we didn't have our account in TikTok. We didn't know how to communicate with this new generation, how to engage them as well. And this is really linked to the mobile audience growth. So our customers, they are mobile, and the challenge here for us, okay, we need to be mobile first. We need to create the mobile marketing being focused on this audience. And there is another challenge when it comes to our customer trends, which is that fashion brands integrate the sportwear within the offer. So at Decathlon, we need to find a way to keep in mind fashion, but also maintaining the technicity of our products and to keep the level on this, to keep as well the customers engaged and don't lose them. And to answer all of these trends, all of these new customer needs, we joined the circular economy. So we integrated our second life products as well as the rental service, totally aligned to our purpose, making the sport accessible to the many. So if our customers now they have less budget and they can afford maybe buying bulky products as a kayak, if they are just going to use it once a year, okay, let's make this affordable. They can rent it when they need it, and then we bring it back and it's going to be used by other customers. We also expand the offer of our products to cover more sport practices in a fast way by integrating third-party marketplace products. Of course, now we are present in TikTok, as well as we launch the mobile app. We've got something in mind, and it's that the number of retail in-apps installs keeps growing over the years, but most important, the revenue coming from the apps is almost 100% higher than 2 years ago. So there is potential here, and we need to be where our users expect to find us. That's why the launch of TikTok as well as the mobile app, it has a common goal, which is engagement and retention of our customers. But it's also important, something that you guys have already mentioned, which is there is a huge need on retention. How we can reward our customers, how we can say thanks for choosing us and for keep your relationship with us. So we also recently launched our loyalty program to keep our customers' retention alive and longer customer lifetime value.
Cool. Could you take us through, so why the app and what have you done around that?
Yes, so as you might saw, as I mentioned before, the app at the end is the answer to a new customer trends. But at Decathlon, we already had an app. We launched an app in 2017, just in France. Decathlon is a French company, for the ones that they know. But the main purpose of this app was to optimize the experience in the store. And this is funny because now our customers are omni-channel. So 2 years later, we decided to convert this app, which was meant only to optimize the in-store experience, to a mobile e-commerce solution to be with our customers all the time. And it was 2 years later when we convert the local app in a global mobile solution. So now this app that we've got is present in 24 countries, and there is more to come. In the UK, we launched it in 2021, in mid-2021, and what we already saw from the launching of the app, if you go to the next slide, is what we have already mentioned. So the app user spend more money. The purchase value of the app users is much higher compared to the web mobile users. And I'm talking about web mobile users. They are using the same device, but they are likely to spend more money. And what is also interesting to see is that the app brings revenue because we also attract new customers. So we've got new customers that purchase at Decathlon for the first time, and the revenue uplift is really, really high. But this is the consequence of the real role of the app and the real benefit of having an app as a retailer. For us, the app brings engagement and retention. So when we have a look at the purchase frequency on the app, is much, much higher than on web, mobile, or just desktop. And the retention after 3 months is much, much higher than overall on the other online channels. And there is a answer here. The app users are really engaged with your brand, and that's why they give a space on their phone to your brand. So having a solid CRM tool is really important, and it plays a key role when it comes to keep the relationship with our customers.
Cool, thanks Jessica. So could you take us through the challenges that you faced and how you've addressed them?
Yes, for a company such as Decathlon, and considering that our app is a global mobile solution, for us it's really important to ensure that we can connect the CRM to every tool that we already use. Each country has, like they use different tools. We don't use the same. So for us, it's really important. What for? To ensure that we can offer an omni-channel experience to our customers. And we have been talking about personalization, and I will go through individualization, which is something that is really important as well. So having real customer insights and having the possibility to add to customer data is really important for us to ensure that through the CRM we send the relevant message at the right time and we cover the expectation of each customer. And of course, when we are integrating a new tool, having a really good customer support service is really important to ensure that we are using the best way the new tool, which is the consequence of offering a really optimized experience to our customers. And when it comes to Decathlon, when we integrated the CRM tool in the app, we ensure that this helps us to build a longer relationship with our customers, because the push notifications through the app allow you to activate customers to ensure that you increase the awareness of your unique selling points at the very beginning of the user journey, but it also helps to support our customers during the purchase journey, to be helpful to them, to create trust, and to also help to convert much better. And the end of the user journey, which is retention and loyalty. And because I heard that our audience love numbers, we've got the proof that at Decathlon, since we launched the CRM in our tool, through the push notifications, we increased by 2 times the monthly active users. But what is more important is that the opt-in rate on the app is much, much higher than on the website. So once again, our app users are really engaged with the brand, and what is more important, they want to hear from us. In terms of the push open notifications, the open rate is around 6% overall, but this is interesting because at the end, this is more general, so it's more about commercial campaigns. But when it comes to the triggered push notifications, where we consider the navigation of our customers, the purchase history, what they have been interested in, so we can personalize the push notifications, we see that the open rate is really, really high, average 20%.
Cool, and then we're always thinking about the future, so what does that look like next for you, Jessica?
Yes, so at Decathlon, our main goal is the benefits of the sport, but we are moving from being product-centric to being more focused on the whole experience when it comes to the sport. So what our customers need in order to practice sport. The idea is to create an ecosystem where they don't just find products or services, but also they meet people or they rent places to practice the sport. They attend events that they are happening in our stores as well. So we create this sense of belonging to a community where Decathlon is part of your lifestyle. And there is a potential when it comes to the app, because at the end is the heart of everything. So the app becomes the bridge between online, between the stores, between the users, between the services, between the whole ecosystem. By having the CRM integrated on the app, we ensure that we can cover all the touch points. So it's not going to be anymore just about transactional and communication, but also how we can re-engage with the customer throughout the user journey by offering them other services such as rental, Second Life products, and how we are going to convert them in loyal customers through our loyalty program as well within the app and thanks to the CRM tool. So hope that this was interesting for you, for the retailers that they came. And if you have more questions.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica.
No problem.
Well, thank you very much to all four of our guests. Guys, if you want to maybe just come up and grab a seat at the front, I'm sure there are hopefully lots of questions. So I guess it's no surprise really that it felt like it was a bit of an app fan fest, because of course we're getting people that are dealing with it every day. You're in an agency or in a business that deals with apps every day. So I guess we're not going to really apologise for that. But I think the thing that struck me, and I'm sure there's lots of questions, but I'll just kick things off I guess initially, is that it feels like there's so much that you can do with apps in terms of, is it driving loyalty? Are we trying to deliver virtual shopping experiences? Are we trying to innovate by delivering a new type of second-hand revenue stream? That maybe there's a danger that actually it can become almost too much. And we talked a little bit about, apps having multiple jobs, actually different apps doing different things. That you said, Monica, 3 different Sainsbury's apps. We're starting to move into the idea of sort of super app territory almost. Is there a danger that then that could become a bit overwhelming? I guess, I don't know who wants to take that one to start with, but I know, Adrian, we talked a little bit about actually online and offline and having separate apps doing different jobs. It was interesting that Jessica was saying Decathlon started as a purely in-store experience enhancer, whereas actually now it's more about, well, how do you make those products do maybe slightly different jobs?
Yeah, I think it relates back to what I was talking about being specific about what you're trying to do and who for. And by definition, therefore, what you're trying not to do and what you're trying to avoid, right? Like there's some interesting stuff out there that says the business prioritization, the hardest bit is avoiding the thing you're choosing not to do that's also potentially interesting. So how do you create really clear strategy that says it's these groups of people and we're going to drive value from them in this way? For us, I think the story you've just told about Decathlon is really interesting, right? And it's a great example of saying the app is for this role, but it's changing. I think we're on a journey, right? And I think one of the things that we're getting much better at is saying, is the app just more web or is it something else? Does it do a different job for a different user? I think when I took the role sort of in autumn last year, the business was using a lot of web mental models to think about how the app created value. And that's tricky, right? Because your user behaves in a different way. You're probably talking to a different type of user. Muck talked about the way different categories behave on app. I totally agree with that. And getting clear about, okay, we're not more web, we are a relationship mechanism. I think that helps you do different things. I think the big opportunity for us, to specifically answer the question, is actually stores, right? So we've seen a really interesting shift back to store, which everyone expected to happen weeks after COVID finished. We've seen that come late. So we're seeing people browsing on app, browsing on web, and then converting in store, which is really, really super interesting. When you're selling long lead time, big discovery products like sofas, I think sofas have something like a 22 touch point journey for us, where people are using all 3 channels to discover what sofa they might want at home. Being really clear about, again, what is your app for what user, and then in the context of upholstery, gives you a really an extra layer of tightness to what you're trying to do. So for me, next for us is, how do we recognize that behavior, and how do we design for it and help the user and therefore drive business value?
Do we have questions? Yes, please. Just before you ask your question, just tell us who you are, where you're from, and then loud and clear to the.
Better than that. Stand up.
There you go.
Hello. My name is Liz, and I work for a project management company, and I'm setting up our Manchester office. So I'm going to be a bit challenging here. I always am. I thought, as a society, that we were supposed to be stopping buying loads of crap. So how do apps achieve carbon net zero?
An interesting one.
I would reframe the question to say, how are we all going to achieve carbon net zero? Adrian and I were talking about this earlier, because there are brands that can lead the way. You have 3-4 of them here today who can change consumer behaviour. But I think it's not until, and Adrian articulated really well, until society starts to tell you that you shouldn't have bought that new, you should have bought that second hand. And so right now there's a real dilemma. I'm working with a brand in the US who is not a fast fashion, they're an off-brand retailer is how they describe themselves. So like, designer goods, but off, not designer anymore, if you like. And there's a real dilemma in there. So we're looking at Gen Z. Gen Z are saying that they don't want to buy loads of stuff, but are still buying fast fashion. But that makes no sense when you look at the data. It makes total sense when you understand, right? Like, we're like, oh, they really want it. They don't have a lot of money to buy it. They're not necessarily choosing secondhand. They're having to make different choices. And I think this is partly society, partly business. And the truth in app, web, mobile is actually most of the carbon footprint is in delivery. So when we want it next day, is that the right thing for the environment? Probably not. Getting 4 different boxes is no. And returns, all of those vehicles moving around and the boxes they move in is actually where the biggest carbon footprint of most online businesses is. It isn't actually in some of the stuff you think about. Anyway, anyone else?
Yeah, I think absolutely spot on. I agree with that. Circularity is becoming a more prominent thing than ever. You touched on sustainability earlier, and I echo that massively. The role app can play, if you want to zone into apps specifically, with what you've just said, it's those hints, when you're shopping, can we, at the prompts around things we can tell you around the delivery selection as an example, why should you choose this option instead of this? Now, of course, you're cannibalizing sales for the business, so it's a business decision to make first of all, and only if you get buy-in can the app experience start to help to do that. But I think it's more society and an organization and an hour thing than just what apps can do.
Add a couple of thoughts. So zooming out from apps, I think the first, let's stop. So one of the things that buyers will always try and do is try and have purpose in the buying decisions that they're making. So, for example, in the fast fashion sense, all our cotton garments are all bought with a Better Cotton Initiative in mind, which is all about sustainable cotton and fair trade and fair policy and pay for people who are at the front end of that supply chain. So I think that's the answer. Let's stop buying crap. So retailers stop buying crap, I think, is a really good way to start. There's a chicken and egg thing in, like, do retailers create societal change, or does societal change get reflected in retailers? I think it's probably a little bit of both. Having played with circular economy models for John Lewis a little bit, a feature of them is super high engagement. So if you're going to start saying that, I think the British Fashion Consortium talk about 2/3 of our wardrobe need to be second-hand or the planet's going to melt. So the only way you can really do that is by engaging really heavily in second-hand. And you do it by potentially having a rental model for half your wardrobe, a second-hand model for the remainder of your wardrobe. And the customer needs to engage with those items much more than they are doing with current fashion, right? So everything we've just talked about, these people are super high engagement people. They are spending time with you in your experience. That amount of time, that engagement, that commitment is going to be necessary for us to change some of those behaviors. So you can rent occasion wear from John Lewis today, you can rent kids' clothes from John Lewis, and you can rent bikes from us today. A feature of all of them are they have higher dwell time, they have higher frequency, they have a higher return rates. That is all features of apps. So when is the right time to bring them into our experiences? When is the right time to drive that societal change? These are all great. This stuff.
As well. I was just thinking at Decathlon when you were talking, and I was thinking, look, there is a high awareness of preserving the planet. And when it comes to the sport, especially outdoor sports, this is our field. So how do we educate our customers as well, and how do we share our values with our customers to ensure that they connect with Decathlon the same way? And when I think about the app, taking into account that it helps in terms of engagement, and the customers are more engaged with the brand, so they share the values of the brand as well. There is potential in terms of sharing your unique selling points and letting them know about what you have, because it might happen that they end up in our stores or the website, and they don't know that we've got Second Life products, and they don't know about our rental service, and they don't know the purpose behind. So it's also about what's the story behind, why we do what we do. And I was also thinking about our loyalty program. So the idea is to reward our customers the reason why they choose Decathlon. So if you purchase an eco-design product, we are going to reward you as well. If you go for renting our products as well, we are going to reward you because you are helping us to maintain the planet, and you are aligned, or Decathlon is part of your lifestyle, of your values, and that's also important for us in terms of creating this community, because it's not just about driving growth through selling, it's also about, having the same purpose when it comes to the way you buy and which company you choose to make this happen. So, yeah.
Let's take another one from the floor. Yes, please.
Mike Rhodes from Consult My App. Actually, just a bit of an answer to that. I think the app ecosystem supporting circular economy, things like Depop, Vinted, Olio, they didn't apps on the Play Store to advertise themselves. So I think it is doing some good stuff. Secondly, really interesting point on subscriptions that Adrian mentioned. Subscription models are inherently founded in the app world. And actually, we're now able to start putting that into retail, which is amazing. We're working with some of our clients to do that. So that is helping support a circular economy. You have a subscription to a clothing app, you return some, you get some new ones. It's wonderful. And that actually is a massive benefit to the environment. So really, really great to hear that that's on the John Lewis agenda as well. Anyway, my question, beating around the house, one of the big things I heard on store is obviously that, the app users have an inherently higher LTV, so 30%, 2.5x even Decathlon, so a mega. And that's something we see with our clients. What I do wonder is how aggressive or passive are you about moving customers from bricks and mortar or web into the app world? And we work with some massive pet food retailers, some sort of secondhand car, all sorts of different apps, but they have real different appetite doing that. Some of the companies are still a bit backwards. The bricks and mortar people and the retail owners are like, whoa, no, you're stealing footfall. You're stealing footfall from my shops. Don't want to be doing that. The app people are like, hold on, but they're worth more money. And, then you've got the sort of in between. But I'm really keen to know, what are your appetites for that in each of your businesses? And I guess maybe for Monica, who obviously doesn't own Outfit, but it'd be interesting to see what your take is the market as a whole in terms of that transition of users from non-app to app.
Any brick and mortar
Yeah. It's a tricky one for Mark to answer without any bricks.
No, I'm just going to start saying that I forgot a huge challenge that I went through in the first slide. It's a challenge, especially because you need to change the mindset of the company as well, and to let them understand that whatever we do is for the customers. So we need to break this bridge between stores, online, website, but at the same time, when it comes to the app penetration, you just want customers that they value, Decathlon and the benefits of the app. So you don't want customers that maybe they download the app because there was a promotion only on the app and then they don't interact with Decathlon anymore. At the end, it's not adding value to us either. So it's also about considering that you want customers on the app that they really value the benefits of the app and they value Decathlon. And internally, I will say that to keep the customer on top of our mind, as well as we want the other way around. We want our customers to have, in this case, Decathlon on top of the mind. But I've been working in the store, and we've been chased by, performance in the stores and, forget about online. But our customers are omni-channel. And we need to understand that, for example, the app has this functionality of scanning products, and you get more information about the products, and you can access customer reviews that they are so important in terms of conversion as well. So it's just thinking of the customer and how the app enhances the omnichannel experience from the...
I guess if we get Adrian to take on that too as the other kind of bricks and mortar retailer in the room, and then we'll take maybe 2 more questions because I appreciate everybody's probably thirsty. And
I think my answer is similar. I think the channels do different jobs for us and do different jobs for the customer, and we're quite comfortable as long as we're specific about those roles and we're optimizing for those roles, the customer moving between the channels. One of the risks with omnichannel as a statement is people think it means everything everywhere all the time, and that's a super expensive way to run a business. And I think we should be smarter about saying apps play this role in these 10 categories, they play this different role in these 10 categories, and mapping that out and then being specific about where you're deploying your money, I think is part of the answer to that question. There are other things, though, that we would love to optimize. We'd like customers to return less stuff. And the role that channel purchasing plays in some of those like exhaust behaviors, if you like stuff that happens as a result of a first thing, we should get smarter at optimizing. One of the things that's really interesting for us is the click and collect business is massive for us. So you can click and collect John Lewis stuff in the Waitrose stores. You can actually return via Waitrose stores, which most people don't know. But that is really cheap for us to do because it's in our supply chain already. And something like half the people that go into a Waitrose to either return or pick something up spend 20 quid in the shop. So there are clever things you can do in your, I think it's now being called unified channel experiences, if anyone wants to get really up to date with the lingo, is being smart about what roles do each of your channels play and how do you create value from them, and being comfortable that you're not going to be able to do everything everywhere all the time.
I think one of the things that we see a lot, because we work across a lot of clients, is actually how a client is attributing it. So what we still see quite a lot of, and I suspect while you're getting that extreme, is clients are quite kind of siloed. So you've got your kind of performance team here and your web team here and your app team here, and actually they're kind of targeted by their KPIs, which aren't necessarily as smart as what Adrian talks about and laddering up to the business goal. But I think probably if you were able to attribute it correctly, which we've always struggled with across all of digital and all the time I've worked in it, is actually understanding how it's all contributing. So the consumer isn't differentiating, and what they are probably doing is switching between all of that, but they were probably doing that anyway. It's not that we're moving people, it's just that they're using multiple channels at will whenever they feel like it across different categories, different experiences, because they're in a different context and blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on, right? Like I have got 3 Sainsbury's apps because I shop with Sainsbury's in 3 or 4 different ways. I'm really comfortable with that, so...
We're not brick and mortar, but we do something slightly similar. So we're transitioning customers from the website into the app. But I think we talked around the strategy being key. So start there. I think you don't want to shift everyone across to begin with. Identify who the ideal customer is, help the whole organization get behind that, and then the wrap a strategy around it. When it comes to brick and mortar example, I think is from an app, how does the app experience enhance their experience when they're in store as well, rather than just we want to move them from store into an app.
I think that's an important point as well, isn't it? Actually, it's around doing the job that it's trying to do well. And it doesn't matter, like we could be, chastising Sainsbury's. Why have we got 3 apps? It's ridiculous. Well, actually, if they're doing each of those 3 jobs that are very different jobs well, then I don't mind. As long as I go to the destination I want and get the thing that I need, it doesn't really matter. Any other questions? Yes, please, in the middle. And we've got one at the back. Let's go to the back first and then we'll come forward.
Okay. Hi, Lucy from Asda from the UX team here. Bit of a techie question. Does anybody have any views on fully native apps versus PWA or mixture of, a bit of a hybrid?
Dun, dun, dun.
Sounds like Muck does.
Yeah. Yes, I have an opinion on it. I'll get controversial here. I think PWAs are great. I think it's an and, not an or. I think if you want a PWA, you build a PWA and an app. I think the question goes back to if you have a PWA and not not a generic app, what's the incentive for Apple and Google to allow you to be on their stores? As an example, they want more control. The more native you are, the more they can they have control of what they want to do with your app. I guess coming down the native route, it's a chicken and egg one. That's the direction I want to go in, and the reason being, more native you are, there's substantially more capability you can tap into device functionality to really enhance the experience tenfold for customers. Now, that comes at a cost, because if you're building an iOS app purely native, then you need pureless technologies to do that, similar with Android, right? Whereas if you're building a hybrid app, then it's probably one technology to build both, and it's slightly cheaper, but you're probably making some compromises as you do that. So I think it depends is the answer. However, what I would say is for PWAs, it's absolutely an and, not just go and build a PWA.
I think do you want to say anything, Adrian?
I can add a quick. I'm going to be really boring and sort of repeat myself, but I think it depends what you're trying to do with your app. Like, if what you're trying to do is get your best, most valuable, most high frequency, best AOV customers to come and spend more time, and then optimize that experience in a way that makes them do that more and keep doing it, I would want to go buy the most precise toolkit I could to drive that experience, rather than buying a less precise toolkit. Like, if you want to put this at the core of your value strategy, why would you pick up the wrong set of tools? So for me, I'm a huge champion of native development. It is the most precise way of empowering our people to create the strategy that we're trying to create. If, for whatever reason in the future, the business says more web, or it's just where we're going to keep our loyalty cards, then this is a very expensive way of doing those things, and we should do something different. But for now, we've bought a Ferrari, let's drive it really fast. The risk is that you buy the Ferrari and you drive it really slow. So how do you then make sure that you're really specific about what you're trying to do, that you're clear on how you're making money, that you're clear on how you're delighting your customers? Because the risk is, you take an expensive way of doing something and then don't do it very well.
And I think just to add to that, that's definitely something we notice with our clients too, is that it can go the opposite way, in that you could buy a Fiesta and try and drive it like a Ferrari, and actually trying to make something that really just isn't up to the job. And that, we've experienced that. So it'll take you so far, and that's fine. And bespoke can sometimes look down its nose at the more of the off-the-shelf solutions, but actually the reality is that can work to a point. And there comes a time when actually you go, this needs to deliver millions of transactions and millions of pounds of revenue, and actually that has to be a bespoke solution as a result. We had a question at the front.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm the e-com industry lead at AppsFlyer. It sounds like for all of you, customer behaviour and data is very much at the heart of all of your decision making, which is great to hear. But given that there's lots of ongoing privacy changes which restricts the data that you have access to, so obviously you had iOS 14, and early next year we've got Google's privacy sandbox. How much has that influenced your app strategy? Sorry, really horrible question.
Ask me again in 6 weeks. I think we need to do more in this space. We need to get smarter at it, and we need to be more cognizant of the risks and how it's going to change what we're able to do. I don't have a better answer for you than that, but it is certainly a risk, and it's something we need to get closer to.
Has it impacted, I suppose, the channels that you work with from maybe from a growth perspective in terms of what your marketing teams work with?
Not that I'm aware, but there's probably people that could sit here and answer that question better.
So I can't talk about it from that point of view because we don't do any app development. I can talk about it because we've kind of had this facing digital marketing for more than a year. I think I was answering the same question this time last year. I think what's interesting is I think we've brought it on ourselves. I think that the focus of consumers on privacy is because we basically stalk them with terrible retargeting adverts around the internet. So people are much more aware of that, and I think that is a good thing, that we are having to work harder in order to build trust so that people will part with first-party data in a meaningful way. So the relationships that we do have that are built on that should be better. But I actually think that, we can try and get around this in multiple ways with sort of different types of tech. We are one of those. We have a huge data stack that, can help to map better audience data and all the rest of it. I actually think one of the answers to this is creativity. I think we have to think more creatively when we're talking to our consumers to make the experience better, and to think about segmentation not in the way that we did, which is numbers on a chart, but actually how do we want people to experience our brand, and it's not and choose to experience that. So different ways of creatively meeting them in the place they are will mean people will choose that, and we will have better, meaningful conversations and personalization and individualization because people choose that, not because we are just like ramming it down their throat across the internet. So, anyone else?
Just to confirm what you have said, but I was thinking at Decathlon, and in terms of creativity, I was thinking we just need to give them the reason why it's better for them to, accept this kind of conditions. At the end, is for them in terms of personalization, in optimizing the experience, like for the usage of the data, we need to let them know that it's for them to enhance the experience. So yeah, it's about being creative in the way we communicate our customers, what's the reason behind, and the benefits that they can get from that. It's the only control that we have.
Have we seen an impact? Yes. There's definitely been less return on investment from retargeting. What are we doing about it? TBC. What you don't know is Sue and I actually worked to introduce IDFA into the very app, and then she left. So I think we're working on it, absolutely. I think we need to be more creative when it comes to what we're asking customers and why we're asking for that information. We've invested more in other digital marketing channels rather than investing in retargeting, and that's kind of offset the loss in revenue. But it's a lot more to do. I think part of the reason I touched on personalization is that's one of the reasons that we want to double down on this. The more we know about you and the more you can tell us, the more we can target you and hopefully get you to come back again.
Thank you very much. Well, it just remains for me to say thank you very much to our speakers. There's an awful lot of food for thought there. We will be following up with some further content related to what our speakers have been talking about today on our website. I guess it feels to me like gone are the days when it would be the debate about whether to have an app or not. It's more about you need one, but what job do you want it to do? Because why wouldn't you want to take advantage of things like 30% more customer value? I think one of the overriding things that I've kind of taken away from this is that idea of relationships. And actually it's that this thing that apps actually equals relationships, and it's that route to finding the key ways in which you can impact your customers. And I think you said, Adrian, it's like it's actually about just creating the right stage for the customers to perform. So on that note, our speakers will be sticking around for a beer or a drink of something cold, hopefully. So please feel free to approach them and say hello, grab a drink yourselves, and thank you very much for coming.